Okay, let's review real quick, like what a basic y equals sine of x function looks like. So, I can't go quick
It's
because
a
it's,
squiggly line starting in
okay, how high does it go?
1.
1, and down to negative 1. So that means the amplitude is 1 because it's going up and down 1 from the middle. Starts at 0, it starts at 0, 0, 0. Goes up and down 1. So it goes there, and then down at the bottom, and there. And how far before it starts repeating itself? How far does it get?
2 pi.
2 pi, that's right, which is like 360 degrees. So the 2 pi thing is called the period, and the up and down thing is called the amplitude. The period is 2 pi for a normal sine or cosine, and the amplitude is 1. Okay, what happens to the graph? This is where we probably didn't do enough of this yesterday. If I put like a 2, let me say just 3, just change it up. What if I put a 3 out there? What do you think will happen to the graph?
It goes up 3.
Goes up 3 and down 3. In other words,
Change the amplitude.
right, the number in front of the side, sine or cosine, is the amplitude. And that's how phi, you don't really have to change the graph any. You could kind of just cheat and put like a 3 and negative 3. Or you could actually go down to 3 and negative 3. Anyway, the graph looks the same, just the dimension. Okay, what happens if I put a negative in front of there?
It makes it go opposite.
Upside down, upside down. So if it was, the opposite of 0 is still 0. So it would still start at 0, but instead of going up to 1, it would go down to negative 1. So anyway, it would just be upside down, flipped over. Okay, and then the hard part, the hardest one, was if there is a number in front of the x, and I used 2 yesterday, maybe I should use 4 or something. What happens is everything happens 4 times faster than it normally would. It's the horizontal, remember the accordion, it's a horizontal squish. So if everything's happening 4 times faster, then the period, instead of being 2 pi, is going to be 2 pi divided by 4. Which is like half pi. So it's going to go through its motion very quickly. So if it was a 4 pi, so pi over 2 is like right there. So it would go through like all of that fast. So it's very squished. It would look kind of like that, which is a giant mess. Let's change that to blue. I didn't make it thick. Yeah, I got a mess on my hands. Anyway, it's just very squished. Happens 4 times as fast. So it gets through its period by the time it's on pi over 2, like a quarter of the way out there. All right. Anyways, we'll figure it out as we go here. Okay, so on number 11 it says y equals 4 times sine of x. So what's that 4 going to do to the graph?
Make the amplitude.
Right, makes the amplitude 4. That means our graphs are going to need to go up to 4. Now you could just cheat and call whatever line you want to go up to 4. If you do that, you do need to label it. If you don't label it, that'd be fine. You just go up to 4 and down to negative 4. You wouldn't have to label it in that case. Okay, but the period we always need to label. So because there is no number in front of the x, the period is not going to change. So what is the period normally that we used all yesterday? 2 pi. So on that little 4th mark out there, I'm just going to throw 2 pi. And we'll call that good for labeling. Okay, I really wouldn't have to label a 4 because that is 4 naturally. So it doesn't really need to be labeled. Okay, where does sine start at?
Up.
Starts in the middle, going up. So it'll be at the top of its, right there, down to the bottom. tall. Taking off.
So do we always skip? Oh wait, you did one.
This vent is open, so I'll leave it to your guys' discretion if you want to close it. I'm a little bit warm.
I'm freezing.
Yeah. You should always probably wear winter wear wherever you go.
You know, I was gonna bring one this year, but Mr. Cloud told me not to, so.
I said winter wear, I didn't say blanket.
Well, I would.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Sorry about the blankets. Okay, on number 12, I'm not going to graph it, but let's talk. Oh, shoot. I forgot. We're supposed to say the amplitude and period. So what's the amplitude? 4. What's the period? That thing right there. 2 pi. So really, it kind of should be on your graph. Not a big deal, but yeah, we'll go ahead and say it. Amplitude is 4, period is 2 pi. Okay. On 12, it puts the 4 in a different spot, and it's also a cosine. So what is that 4 going to do to the graph?
4 times faster.
Okay, yeah, that was my example at the beginning. Everything happens 4 times faster. So the period, instead of being 2 pi, is going to be a fourth of that, which reduces to pi over 2. It's like 90 degrees. So, okay, I would, since this is like the first one, I'm going to give you some advice. I would not change the graph. I would just change how you mark the graph. So instead of like leaving pi over 2 like way over here on the left, I would just make your fourth mark pi over 2. It'll make all the graphs look alike, but it makes it easier to graph. And remember that cosine starts where?
2 or 1.
Okay, it starts at the top. Okay, since there's no number here, that means the amplitude is still 1. So it'll look like that, starting from the top. All right, I'm floating away, sorry. Got it? 13 says sine of 1/3 x. Okay, 1/3 x. So this is going to make everything happen 1/3 as fast, which means it's going to be a horizontal stretch. So what will our period be? Well, you just do 2 pi, the normal period, divided by 1/3.
So 2 pi times.
It's like 2 pi times 3, and you'll get 6 pi. So if everything happens 1/3 as fast, everything's going to be stretched out 3 times as long. So I'm going to make the exact same graph, but
Just put 6 pi.
my fourth mark I'm going to call 6 pi. Okay, they did not put a number on the front, so that means the amplitude is still 1. So I'm going to mark 1 and negative 1. Okay. Sine starts in the middle,
Goes up.
going up. I guess the bad thing about using that trick is you don't get a feeling of how the graph is stretching, because you kind of make them all look the same, but I'm okay with it. It's kind of all relative. Okay, so the amplitude is 1, and the period, which we kind of had to find to graph it, is 6 pi. negative sine of 1/2 x. Okay, so we got two things happening on 15. We have a negative and we have a 1/2 in front of the x. So the period, which is normally 2 pi, 2 pi divided by 1/2 is now going to be 4 pi. And because there is a negative out in front, the graph's going to be upside down. Okay, the amplitude is still 1. That has not changed. The period is 4 pi. Okay, because the graph is negative, it's going to go upside down. So instead of going up, it's going to go down from here.
How do we get 4 pi? Oh, I see.
2 pi divided by half. So the amplitude is still 1 and the period is 4 pi. Graph is upside down. We're done with that section. The odds. 17 is not graphing. It's just say what the function is. Okay. So I need you guys eyeballs on 17 here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with the amplitude. What is the... no, actually, I take that back. Let's start with, is it a sine? Does it look more like a sine or a cosine function? Let's start with that. Looks more like a sine because it's going up through 0 in the middle. So, I guess, yeah, what's the amplitude? What's the amplitude on 17? It's going up to 4. So the 4, remember, goes right in front of the function. The amplitude does. Okay, what is the period? 2 pi, which is a normal period. So that means I don't need to put anything in front of the x. Okay, and it's not upside down or anything, so I don't have to worry about negative. That is the answer to 17. Okay, 19. Does that look more like a sine or a cosine? More like a cosine because it's at the top in the middle. Okay, so I'm kind of leaving a couple blanks here. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm leaving a blank up here for the amplitude and a blank right here in case the period is off. Okay, so what is the amplitude? How high is it going? Right. It's only going halfway up to 1, so that means, yeah, the amplitude is a half. Okay, what is the period? So if you go from hilltop to hilltop, how far?
Just pi.
It's pi. From the hill in the middle, hilltop in the middle to the hilltop on the right, it's moving over pi. Okay, so a normal period is 2 pi. So all you do is you do the normal period, kind of like we were doing earlier, but you do the normal period divided by the actual period, and you get a 2, and that's the number that goes right there. So you always do 2 pi divided by 2 pi divided by the actual period is 2. That goes in front. Okay, that's all for that. 18, what kind of function does 18 look like?
Cosine.
It's an upside down cosine. So you're gonna have to throw a negative in there somewhere. Okay, in the front. Let's see. 21's kind of a repeat. Include at least one cycle, yeah. 21's a repeat of graphing again. Okay, on 21 it says y equals sine of 3x. The 3 tells us that the period, instead of being a normal 2 pi, is going to be 2 pi divided by 3, which doesn't really simplify, so we're just going to leave it like that. But over here on the fourth mark, I'm going to put 2 pi over 3. The amplitude is untouched. Okay, that's it. Where does sine start at? 0 going up. Kind of missed that one. Got a normal amplitude of 1 and a period of 2 pi over 3. Dos mas. Oh goodness, they did everything on 23. -4 cosine of 1/2 x. That's why they put this. In the B section. They're doing a lot on this one. Okay. So there's a 4. That means the amplitude in front. That means the amplitude is 4. You don't really have to mark it on the graph, but that just gives me a target to aim at. And then the period.
5.
Right, yeah. The normal period, 2 pi, you divide that by the 1/2 in front of the x. And yeah, we did this one earlier. It came out as 4 pi. So. Okay, this is a cosine, but it's a negative cosine, just like number 18. So where are we going to start at? The bottom. So there's only one place to go when you're at the bottom. That is up.
So inspirational.
Unless you're like telling somebody they're at the bottom. Yuck. That might be. Okay, and then the amplitude is 4, the period is 4 pi. Kyler, are we getting perfect graphs in there?
Yeah,
Am I going too fast?
a little bit.
I figured. I'll pause, because we're doing pretty good on time. So I can wait a little bit. If you want me to scroll back to one of the odds, I can do that after. Huh?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, probably should have written it down first. Y equals negative 2 sine of 6x. Okay, so my amplitude is 2. That's where I'm aiming. Okay, my period instead of the normal 2 pi is 2 pi divided by 6, which reduces to pi over 3. Okay, and this is so amplitude is, go ahead and write that down. Period is pi over 3. This is a negative sine function.
Wait, where do you get the 2 to, oh, never mind.
Negative sine function. So sine normally starts at 0. Negative, the opposite of 0 is still 0. So it still starts at 0, but it's going down because it's negative. So it starts there. Then it has to go back up again. Oh. The end. Oh, 26. They put a pi in front of the x. So what's the period going to be? 2 pi divided by pi is 2. 2 pi. Remember we just divide, right? So 2 pi divided by that pi that they put in there is just 2. So your period will be like a normal number, just a 2.